Nintendo Switch Lite. Let me show you what's going on. We'll see if we can duplicate what was reported. And we are getting an error code 21010001. I know it's really hard to see, but it is there. So next thing we need to do is get it apart, disassemble it down to the board, and we'll do some testing from there. Old. We have the board out and we're ready to do some testing. We'll be beginning our testing on side A. We'll be going from the M92T36, the BQ24193, then we'll come down to the port, which looks like it needs some work. Check our fuse on this side. The port housing looks worse for wear, but the internal port itself is still solid. First chip we're going to check is the M92T36. We're going to check these capacitors surrounding the chip. We're going to put our probe on ground, which we'll be using the port as ground. And what we're concerned about on these capacitors is the lines you see going to the chip. In general, you do not want those shorted to ground. And we have a short on this one, on the line going to the chip. We have a short on this one, the line going to the chip. So these two are shorted. We definitely have a problem with this chip. In the case of this capacitor, it has two lines going to the chip. In that case, only one side should be shorted to ground. And that one seems to be okay. But we still definitely have a problem with that chip. Let's move over to the BQ24193. Same deal. Except in this case, on this chip, it has multiple capacitors with multiple lines going to the chip, usually. Especially on the original. And everything seems to be okay in that area. Pop down here to the MOSFET area. And fuse. Let's check our invincible fuse. And it's still being invincible. Good to know that whatever killed the M92T36 spared the fuse. And I'm just going to check the fuel gauge area, but I don't see anything wrong there. Now we're going to flip the board. We're going to check our test pads just above the port. Alright, so this one is shorted to ground. This one is ground, but this one should not be shorted to ground. Indicative of our M92T36 being bad. Sometimes this is the only area in which you can find a short. At times that chip will fail in a way where it doesn't present on the capacitors, and these test pads can show you a lot. And this one's shorted to ground as well, and it should not be. See these little via? That means it is not ground, it is an isolated signal line, as is this one. So we have a target area where our fault lies. For your orientation purposes, this is where we'll be working on side A to begin with. We're set up to remove our chip. In order to remove the chip, I must set up my equipment. And while I set up my equipment, let me throw up my expected temperatures for this job. These temperatures are brought to you by the associate links in the description. If you go to my video description and click on one of these links and buy any of this equipment, a small portion of that purchase will go to supporting the channel. And I greatly appreciate you. It won't cost you an extra dime. Let's add some flux. Cool our chip. And we're just looking for every pad around the chip to wet before we even touch it. There's no reason to try and touch it with your tweezers until you see evidence that every pad is wetted. You can cause severe damage by trying to pry on these before it's ready to go. Normally I would just hot swap this, but I do want to test and make sure we have relieved our shorts. Find ourselves ground. And we have relieved our shorts. Excellent. The unreliable nature of ordering these chips, that doesn't mean we're going to fix this situation on the first try, but we can hope. Re-wet our solder. We're looking for that center pad to wet before we place. Drop it in. Center up. Remove your heat and let it tack down a little bit. Place a little bit of pressure down. Squish it down. Remove your heat. I wanted to do a little bit of cleanup of our solder squished out. Bridging lines. For that, I'll grab my Pico pencil. We'll put it up against the fume extractor and cool it down a little bit. Clean up. I want to take a serious look at this port. Everything looks structurally okay, but it has clearly undergone a little bit of stress, and it could be what was responsible for killing our chip in the first place. So I think we're going to go ahead and replace the port too. Let's check and make sure we didn't reacquire our shorts or acquire any new ones. A good thing to check these every time now. Alright, everything looks alright. Let's check our test pads. That one's ground. That's the only one that should be ground. Alright. We have not acquired any more shorts. That doesn't mean everything's good. I'm going to set up to remove our port. I hope you're getting value out of this video. Just a reminder, if you find you're not ready to tackle this, I do offer these services, both locally and mail-in. Just head over to micromage.repair, click free quote, fill out the form, and I'll get back to you personally. If you mention this video, I'll give you 10% off on your repair. I went ahead and dremelled down a port. You can get these ports, but as of this recording, they're still $4 to $5 a piece compared to every other port. That's still kind of ridiculous. So it's still cheaper to grind them down and modify them yourself. So I just used a Dremel to cut it down to size. For your orientation purposes, we'll be working here on side A. And when we switch to side B, we'll be working here. Add some flux. Flux helps solder flow, but it is also a cleaning detergent and will stop the pads from oxidizing after you remove the port. Also remove oxidization that's already there. And I will be applying low melt alloy. It's a mixture of bismuth and tin. Any low melt alloy will do. Feed in as much as possible. What we're trying to do is just lower the melting temperature of the solder that's already in there significantly. I'm just worried about the anchors. For me, it just lowers the variables. When I go to remove this port, the only thing I have to be concerned about is the hidden row of pins and the visible row of pins on the other side. Once they wet, everything else will guaranteed be wetted, because this stuff will wet far sooner than that. And once they wet, the whole port will just drop. Low melted. Let's bring the sauce. We'll concentrate on the anchors first. Make sure they are wetted. They will wet quickly and they will stay wetted for a while. Now we're going to concentrate in on the pins, which are visible on the other side. And there we go. They wetted and the port just dropped. Another nice clean pull. What do I mean by clean pull? It means we did not pull any pads, we didn't do any damage, the port just fell off cleanly. While we're over on this side and the board is at least somewhat warm, we'll just remove the solder from the anchors. We're just looking for that wick to saturate. Usually once it saturates, you've pretty much gotten it. Don't worry about sitting on there for a second. Or two. Go ahead and clean it up so that stuff doesn't harden It's much harder to get off when it hardens. Nice and clean. If you're not comfortable with wicking, you don't have to remove this solder. This is not low melt. We didn't change anything here, but I like to do so. I don't like to reuse the manufacturing solder. I'm fairly confident I'm not going to damage anything when I clean it. Lots and lots of practice. Switching to our Pico pencil and putting some Kester 6337 leaded solder on our tip, tin our pads. Nice puffy pillows, as they say. Prep our new port. Flux. Paint our pins. And clear our bridges. There we go. Place our port. I change orientation quite a lot for both comfort and air directionality, other factors. Move over here. I'm going to put a shield over the ribbon connector and the battery connector. Just going to place a shim here just to reduce the glare a little bit, and it doesn't hurt to have a little protection on that Wi-Fi circuit because I bring the heat from above. The way I normally solder these, can hot swap them and all that, but I do what's comfortable for me. You do what's comfortable for you. Let's bring the sauce. We will be using rapid air movement. The idea of this technique is to bring up the temperature of the board enough to wet that solder. We're not using direct heat, and we're trying to keep the air moving to a point where it's never in one place long enough to burn like the plastic on the port or any other plastic nearby. And you gotta be a little bit patient. You're just watching for evidence of wetting. Okay. Starting to wet, and press down, hold down after we remove the heat. Continue holding down until we see evidence it has fully dried. And then do a very delicate nudge test. And it feels solid. Let's check under our shield, make sure we didn't do any damage there. And they look great. Excellent. Let's check our outer pins. Sometimes when you're concentrating on getting this inner row down, you can neglect these a little bit. It's okay to neglect them a little bit because you can always hand solder these. The inner row is the important one, but everything looks solid. Excellent. Add some flux. Grab our leaded solder. We're just going to use a corner of our big chisel on the 120 watt. Sometimes I'll use the Pico pencil, sometimes I use the 120 watt. I always go over it with the 120 watt anyway. Pushes the heat a little bit better than the precision pencils, and we want good feed through on these anchors. Sometimes you don't feel steady enough to use a bigger tip like this and at a confined area, so do whatever your hands allow you to do on the day and be ready to change it on some days. Your hands will not always cooperate every day, and depending on your frequency of work you may get out of practice. See how we look? Excellent feed through. Now we need to clean thoroughly. As we did have to modify this port, we're going to have to clean out the inside really well. So we'll do that too. Just to make sure there's no metal shavings in the port before we apply any power to it. Because we cleaned along the way. This is not too difficult. I don't always successfully clean along the way. By far the most thorough way to clean a port that I've attempted, thanks to Q's Tech Service. It was his idea. Rapid clean system. We're prepared to do some power testing using our modified iPhone Power Squid, which we have retrofitted with Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch Lite battery connectors. Through our PSU, we'll activate using the OEM, make sure it will activate on both sides. And what we want to see here is just a steady climb in amperage. Indicates booting, no hanging. Okay, that looks good. We're going to kill it. We're going to flip our charger, turn it back on. Make sure we're activating on both sides. And it appears we are. Very good. So we are drawing 15 volts on both sides of the charger. That is very good news. We will reassemble, let it charge on its own battery for a while, make sure we're not getting any glitches. Again, these M92T36s. I've had some weird things happening with them of late, so I am very untrusting. We'll test for a while and make sure everything is copacetic on this one and go from there. For whatever dumb reason, I can't get my USB meter to work on the computer. I probably just need a better one. Anyway, as I said when I was putting this together, we don't know if it's fully working until we get it together. And as we can see, it is not fast charging at 15 volt, 0.26 amp. It's only like 60% full. It should be like pulling 0.7 amp or something like that, fast charging. But it is not. We'll switch over to PSU, show you. It's only pulling 0.49 on PSU. I think we have ourselves another dud MI2T36, so I've got to get this back apart and put another chip on. Yay, not having right to repair. It's so fun getting these chips off the back of a Chinese bus. Add some flux. Move yet another chip. Hope and pray that yet another second chip will work. Seems like it's taking 2 chips to fix every one of these. Minimal. At some point it is going to become a situation where it's not really worth messing with them. I hate to say that because they're kind of my niche, but it's not a repairability issue, it's a parts issue. I simply cannot get good parts. And make sure we have not acquired new shorts. Because with bad parts, you gotta check these things. Doesn't appear we have. We'll check the test pads just to be sure. We'll put this back together, see if we're fast charging, go from there. Okay, see if we get fast charging on the PSU. That still doesn't look like fast charging. 64%, I'm only drawing 0.48. That don't seem right. I should definitely be charging at better than 15 volt, 0.3 amps. That don't make sense. I'll leave it on charge for a while, just to prove what I should be getting. Mine's charging at 15 volt, 0.68 amps. That's what I'd be expecting to see from theirs. Instead, this is what I'm seeing. 15 volt, 0.30 amps. It's like half. It's communicating with M92T36. It's charging. It was definitely an M92T36 problem to start with, but we're not fast charging for whatever reason on this. I mean, it could be their battery, I guess. I don't know how I confirm that. I don't really have a battery laying around for them. I'll have to think about that. It's several days later. We have a battery in, and I want to see if it is fast charging. If it is fast charging, we do not have a board problem, we have a battery problem. If it is not, we have a board problem. Variables. But start with the simple one. Okay, 150, reset. And we are now fast charging. That is double the amperage we were seeing from the old battery. So we have a battery problem. That's actually good news. That's a simple fix rather than trying to track down some weird board issue that would have caused it not to fast charge. Let's stick it to the PSU. That's much better. Over an amp at 5 volts. That's what we'd expect to see. Excellent. Now we get to contact the client and let them know it's going to be an extra charge. Pulled out the client's battery and I'm going to let it charge for a while before I stick it down with adhesive just to make sure everything charges as expected. So far so good. Always good to test before committing. All right, everything appears to be testing out and working as expected with the new battery and new chip and new port. If you got value out of this video, I think you'll get value out of this one, and I'll see you there.